This is a business opportunity. It is understanding that the largest minority in the world, people with disabilities, are not being met by brands and have products that work for them. So that kind of question about, are brands in this authentically, and or is this a PR piece? I can comfortably say any brands that are working with Gamut, the answer is absolutely no to the PR. Where they can have PRs when they have a product that was developed with and for people with disabilities, marketed with and for people with disabilities, they deserve and should be honored with appropriate PR for that. Women want to see women with disabilities in the ad campaigns. They want to look into a store and see, an image of a woman with a limb difference and feel invited, that, wow, they see me. I want to be a patron of this store,
Hmm.
because that, I always, I do really need to know who originally said this quote, but it's so important that if you don't see it, you can't dream it. And that is such an important statement, and so true. If you don't see anybody that looks like you, or somebody that is different than a typical body or person, how can you see yourself in that store or that experience, or even think about that this could be something for you?
People use accessibility as like an excuse away of like, oh, we don't want to put the extra amount of effort into accessibility packaging and such. And I'm like, for these companies, it costs them like probably pennies more per
Mm.
thing. So like, if I could do it, just a regular person, like even me disabled, like it gives no excuse for a multi-million billion dollar company to make it accessible. And it also helps all of us too. Like,
Helps everyone. If it's
yeah, like we
easier
were
to
talking
open it,
about.
it helps everyone.
Yeah, like we were talking about the bras with magnets and such. I can see like regular women just buying it just because
No
it's
question. I
it's easier to
guarantee you,
do.
women don't want to use hook and eyes and have it closed in the back, which is even more difficult.
Yeah, like
It's
I
going to revolutionize the industry. Let's get this going. Let's be a voice of change. Let's do this together, and or question or all of that. It does set us back. And I do say us because I live every single day with, my son's challenges and his future
hmm
and what I see, the struggles that he has. So this is something that I do feel really strongly, that as a community, if we are not supporting each other, then why would we expect the world to support us?
it's brutal out there.
Yeah, but it is brutal out there, but let's kumbaya. Let's work together.
I don't know, like people know who you are. Like maybe they know about Runway of Dreams, but like I don't know. Do a lot of people know who you are specifically? Like, do you ever get hate towards you of like why are you throwing a like runaway for disabled model and stuff like that, or are you more like behind the scenes and
I definitely do, but that kind of comes with the territory, and that's why I, speak very openly about Oliver, and Oliver speaks very openly about his journey, and it is really the why I am where I am is because of him and the learning. I have personal and professional goals. My personal goal is to hopefully do my job, do my part to reshape a world to be inclusive of people with disabilities, because it's who my son is and the population that he's involved in. So yeah, I am trying to have him grow up in a world that sees him as everybody else is seen. And from a professional perspective, this is white space. This is an amazing opportunity for brands to include people with disabilities and start rethinking the way products are created and developed, or services that include everyone and not just able-bodied people.
a little frustrating for you because you have a business and like it would be bad PR, we like start cursing at a person. I don't know if you would curse at a person,
Yeah,
but
probably wouldn't be a good decision on
like
my
I'm sure
part.
you like wrote a message in the chat and like you didn't click send and you're like, I'm not gonna do that just because of
No,
everything I represent.
it will not go well for me. Correct. Especially when we started with Tommy Hilfiger and calling it Tommy Adaptive, because we really have to create a new category. No different than plus size, petite, men's, women's. It is a category called adaptive. And now I'm thrilled to say that everybody that is in the space is using that same vernacular, which will inevitably make it easier to find. It changes the stigma of what adaptive means, and because it's really adapting products to be able to have more people wear the product. That's really the genesis of what the root of using the term adaptive is. You're adapting it for more people to be able to wear the same product.
What do you think of the word disabled? Like, do you think it's a good word or do you think a bad word or just a regular word?
It's a really good question because I have kind of two answers from me being Oliver's mom versus me being, having two companies in this space.
Hmm.
From a personal perspective, look, do I wish there was another word that didn't start with dis, which already isn't has a negative connotation to it? I mean, every morning when you listen to a traffic report, it's about a disabled vehicle on the side of the road that's causing traffic, causing aggravation. It doesn't definitely does not have positive connotation, but from a business perspective, I try to listen to the community, and there is a very strong current that people with disabilities feel it is what it is, and that is a descriptor of their abilities.
I didn't even know handicap was on their way out, honestly, till now. Like,
Yes, well, do you know the genesis of the word?
not really. Just,
So it was derived, centuries ago, but that people with disabilities were deemed only good to be beggars and have their cap in their hand to beg for money. And that then was utilized for how people with disabilities were viewed, and the word handicapped,
oh,
cap in hand, handicapped came to be.
wow, I had no idea. Now I feel like a bad disability person.
No, what do you mean? I learned that along the way to.
My last question to you, is there a dream company you're hoping to call you?
Um, You know what? It's a really good question and one that I answer that I don't have a dream company because I want every company. That's my dream is every single company out there should have an adaptive version of their product.
Hello, welcome to my podcast, To Mike One Joe Stooch. I am Joe Stooch, and I'll be giving a mic to Mindy. Mindy is a fashion designer who works on Saks Fifth Avenue. Now she focuses her efforts on the largest minority in the world, disabled people. In 2014, she started the Runway of Dreams Foundation to empower people with disabilities to have confidence and self-expression through fashion and beauty inclusion. In 2019, she started the Gamut talent management agency to represent people with disabilities and create a marketplace where businesses and industry can connect to this target audience. So let's talk business. You are working with companies like Tommy Hilfiger, Zappos, and your brand new partner of Victoria's Secret. Do you think there's a money making opportunity to target a disabled demographic, or is it good PR for the company, or both?
I'm really happy that you kind of leaned into this question because I have quite a few responses to that. And just so everybody knows, I'm also the mom of a now 18-year-old son with muscular dystrophy. So I am an indirect part of this population, although I do think caregivers are
Yeah,
a very much a
yeah.
direct part of the community. But in my journey with Oliver and certainly starting with Runway Dreams and then moving into Gamut, I really listened and learned from the population directly that they didn't want to be part of a nonprofit. They wanted to be considered consumers, not charity. that they have money to spend, that they care about what they wear, all the things that I knew from my, world with Oliver and getting to know people like you. But it was really important to also share that with our clients and our brand partners that this is a business opportunity. It is understanding that the largest minority in the world, people with disabilities, are not being met by brands and have products that work for them. So that kind of question about, are brands in this authentically, and or is this a PR piece? I can comfortably say any brands that are working with Gamut, the answer is absolutely no to the PR. Where they can have PRs when they have a product that was developed with and for people with disabilities, marketed with and for people with disabilities, they deserve and should be honored with appropriate PR for that. And that really was one of the reasons why I started Gamut, as a consulting and talent management company, to be able to help brands understand how to authentically get into this space so that questions like you just asked, we can and they can authentically say, yep, we did this the right way for the right reasons.
You're a good representative of the disabled community. So I have here you have three categories of importance when talking clothes. Category one, you have enclosures like buttons and zippers that are difficult among disabled people. Two, the product must be adjustable. And three, rethinking how the product goes on the body, whether you have a limb difference or a little muscle tone. So what else do you vet when meeting potential partners or clients?
So really, we try to meet brands where they are and or what their product is. So and we're not prolific or are on a soapbox about this is how you do it. We let the population be the voice of that. So for example, when you mentioned Victoria's Secret, the work that we have done with them over the course of this past year is really help them understand what the challenges are for a woman with a disability and all different types of disability as it relates to putting on or taking off a bra or underwear. So those categories that you just stated were for other companies that we worked with, and that was really derived upon from the population. With Victoria's Secret, for example, the way that the bra has classically closed or where it does close on the body was called to task really by the women that were involved in this process to say the reasons why this doesn't work for them. And that really is how we individually work with different brands or different companies so that it isn't saying you have to do it this way. It is allowing for the population to iterate and work or co-create really a product that works for their needs.
So are you kind of like the bridge between the disabled community, like they'll come to you first and then you like bring in I guess disabled, like I guess for Victoria's Secret would be the disabled women and they would come and contribute, or do they like bring plans to you and like you say yes or no, like, or how did the whole interaction work?
It is right now very, it could go either way. So with Victoria's Secret, for example, they fortunately came to us and said, we know we need to be in this space. We don't know where to begin. We need support and guidance, which is of course how we love any brand
Mm-hmm.
to come to us because it's so authentic and so real that they didn't just say we're going to put magnets in a bra and call it authentic, call it
Mm-hmm.
adaptive. Where they came to us, they said, not only do we not know where to begin, we don't really know this consumer. We need to be educated on who she is. And that's really actually where we always like to start with the education piece. Because if you don't know your consumer, how in the world are you developing product for them? So really the first couple months of working with them was all about education and truly introducing the company to the community of women with disabilities and what that means, what their needs are, who they are, all of the above. So that is seemingly how it's really taking how it's happening as brands are coming to us now, and or sometimes we do really have challenges bubbled up by the population to say we don't even have, heels that we can wear, that we want to dress up and be able to wear footwear other than sneakers for, a an event that doesn't call for a sneaker. So when we hear that a lot, then we have an opportunity to go to a shoe company and say, this is an opportunity for you. This is all the background and feedback that we've gotten. We think that there's something that we can work on together.
It seemed like they found something in the data or research, whatever, that there is a money making opportunity here, and we should see how that goes. Like explore
Yes,
that avenue.
exactly.
Impressive. So I'm sure you like it more when they approach you because they already have some idea of what they want to do versus the other way around. So when you do the other way
Absolutely.
around, how do you like? Do you have like a presentation already made of like, hey, like this is why you should cater to the disabled community?
Yes, we do. Because again, we never want to make the assumption that they know the who, why, what, and where of the population of people with disabilities. Because we still have a long way to go on that part in our world of understanding how big this population is. The fact that they are consumers, they do have money to spend. And that, in most cases, which I love so much, people with disabilities are natural entrepreneurs of their own because they have to develop and create products that work for them. So they're natural innovators. And I think our world can really learn and grow from that. So it is much, much easier when the brand comes to us versus the other way around.
Yeah, I do notice that in the disabled community that there are some like people that have created like personal like adaptations of stuff. But the biggest problem really is the outreach. Like Victoria's Secret, like everyone knows what Victoria's Secret is. Like they can just out they can sell millions for like if I was to sell I don't know why I would sell bras, but if I did, like it would I would reach maybe like 10 people and like word of mouth. Like everyone knows what Victoria's Secret is. So I mean they have like the physical footprint of able to like actually help a lot of these people. Like, but I also don't
And
know how.
yeah.
Yeah,
And even from a representation perspective, which obviously is a very hot topic right now, that women want to see women with disabilities in the ad campaigns. They want to look into a store and see, an image of a woman with a limb difference and feel invited. That wow, they see me. I want to be a patron of this store
hmm
because that I always I do really need to know who originally said this quote, but it's so important that if you don't see it, you can't dream it. And that is such an important statement and so true. If you don't see anybody that looks like you or somebody that is different than a typical body or person, how can you see yourself in that store or that experience or even think about that this could be something for you?
I mean, I don't know bra as well, but like, what does a accessible like bra or undergarment look like?
So a more traditional or classic closure for a bra is a hook and eye. If you have any fine motor challenges, if you are missing a limb or you don't have the strength to be able to put a
hmm
hook in an eye, and or you cognitively cannot put a hook and an eye
Yeah, you
together,
need dexterity. Like, it's
you
not
you
simple.
are not going to be able to close your bra. So really rethinking of other ways to close a bra, like a magnet, like Velcro, that it almost closes on its own and there's very little effort that needs to be put into that, makes that experience so much easier. And for those that can independently dress themselves, what a wonderful experience that for maybe the first time in your life, you're actually able to put on and take off your own bra.
Yeah, I mean, it must be an amazing experience if you haven't done something for, maybe you have never like put a bra on and all of a sudden you're able to just do that yourself. Must feel really like thrilling to do like every single time. It's
Yes.
like,
I've been
wow.
lucky enough to witness it, to see that experience of somebody being able to independently dress themselves for the first time as an adult. And there's really no words that to put around being witness to that experience. It is something that on a daily keeps me going to think about that memory of being a part of somebody's life in such a prolific way.
I mean, I don't want to like promote myself because it's always about the guest, but I think it is a great time to talk about my secret project. So I'm sure you're familiar with dressing sticks and right stuff,
Hmm.
right? So what I created is a customizable dressing stick. And so if you look at dressing sticks now, like there's three big problems that I saw. So one is that it's only one height. So that's two is that you're only stuck with whatever they give you. So one is like a hook, and then one is like a shoehorn. But I feel like most people wouldn't want a shoehorn, or some sticks have different heads, so you need different heads. And then the
Yep.
other thing is size. Like some people, they're so big, that, like if you're traveling with it, it's so awkward. You have to take it out of your bag. So I created something that will solve all three problems, actually. So what I did is, so with a stick that's small that you can put in your purse, and then what you can do is you can, um, uh, I made the heads, so I made 30 different heads, so you can customize the head however you want. So if you want the hook, if you want a bigger hook, you want a smaller hook, you can do that. It's screwable on and off. I try and make it accessible as possible. The another thing I added is colors, because I think a lot of people want colors too. I think they
I
did kind
love
of like,
it.
hey, here's white. Like it looks white. White looks ugly. It kind of looks like a medicine, you know. So that customizable. Another thing that head swivels, so you can like move the head to whatever position you want, and it also can extend to like 40 inches, so it can definitely help in any way. And also, it's not only just to get to like put clothes on, but I also made it to help you, you know, putting makeup on and like washing your hair. So like you can just bring the stick and a bunch of these heads, and if you're doing your makeup, you can do the makeup, unscrew the head, and then like, oh, you want to comb your hair? You use the same tool, do your head. But like before, you would have like 40 different devices, but now you only have one with multiple heads, kind of like a
Mhm.
vacuum in a way. So
Amazing.
so I
So
created that.
you're
I've been
exactly what I was talking about. You're, a natural innovator. You saw a problem that you experienced and you acted on it and you developed something that's ultimately going to help hopefully millions of people.
yeah, I think like I mentioned before, the biggest thing is just people knowing about it. Like I haven't released it yet, and I'm still working at the kink. So I think like another 2 months of like not only creating the product which was stressful, but making it perfect, and then like also thinking of accessible packaging too. I really diving into that. I want to make
Mm,
accessible packaging because I'm sure you kind of know that people use accessibility as like an excuse away of like, oh, we don't want to put the extra amount of effort into accessibility packaging and such. And I'm like, for these companies, it costs them like probably pennies more per
mm.
thing. So like, if I could do it, just a regular person, like even me disabled, like it gives no excuse for a multi-million billion dollar company to make it accessible, and it also helps all of us too. Like
Helps everyone. If it's
yeah, like we
easier
were
to
talking
open it,
about,
it helps everyone.
yeah, like we were talking about the bras with magnets and such. I can see like regular women just buying it just because
No
it's
question. I
it's easier to
guarantee you,
do.
women don't want to use hook and eyes and have it closed in the back, which is even more difficult.
Yeah,
It's going to revolutionize the industry.
yeah, so it's just something I saw, and I'm like, hey, I wanna I've been dealing with it for a long time, and no one wants to put the effort into it. So like I just took it upon myself to do it, and I'm excited to release it in 2 months or so. It's gonna
Amazing.
be like I created a whole accessibility website. I made sure that's accessible to try to keep it all hidden too. But so a question I have for you is so when I'm working on my project, I felt like I was very alone in that project because I'd have a very business oriented mindset of like how things should be done. Like I have a high bar of excellence. So like for you, do you feel like you're alone in your own expenditures or do you have like a team that you work with to help you out?
Fortunate enough to have a team on both for both Runway of Dreams and a separate team for Gamut. So I am so lucky to be surrounded by just brilliant, very, very rooted in the world of disability, whether that is it's personal and or it's a loved one and or they've just worked in the disability space, which is very important to me in terms of who is on the team. But I also am lucky enough to have over 1,000 talent represented by Gamut. So we really, really touch into utilizing that talent base, whether it is working directly with companies to help them, vet or approve their products or develop their products and or be a part of surveys and or, be in the entertainment industry. So we have a fairly nuanced and I think pretty modern, different way of looking at what a management company does.
Do you ever like talk to people and like they're not getting it and you just like get so frustrated with it?
I would say that the all one of the things generally I'm not met with people that are don't get it. I think it's pretty hard not to get it. I would say one of the things that's a little difficult is if there's members of the population that aren't in support of us all doing this together. That's what I question. That if we want to make change happen, we have to be on the same page of
Hmm.
really doing this together. And when we aren't, necessarily being, let's get this going. Let's be a voice of change. Let's do this together and or question or all of that. It does set us back. And I do say us because I live every single day with, my son's challenges and his future
Hmm.
and what I see, the struggles that he has. So this is something that I do feel really strongly that as a community, if we are not supporting each other, then why would we expect the world to support us?
It's brutal out there.
Yeah. But it is brutal out there, but let's kumbaya. Let's work together. That's why when I was asked to be on your show, it wasn't even a second thought. It was my honor and pleasure
You were so
because,
bit. You're so busy though.
well, that is true. But, I was going to make it work one way or the other because
Yeah,
I want to support you as much as I hope you support me.
of course. Yeah, I'm with the program. But yeah, just difficult. Like, do you ever face? I don't know. Like, people know who you are. Like, maybe they know about Runway of Dreams, but like, I don't know. Do a lot of people know who you are specifically? Like, do you ever get hate towards you of like, why are you throwing a like runaway for disabled model and stuff like that? Or are you more like behind the scenes and
I definitely do, but that kind of comes with the territory, and that's why I, speak very openly about Oliver, and Oliver speaks very openly about his journey, and it is really the why I am where I am is because of him and the learning and learning from you and learning from the other thousands of people that I have the pleasure and the honor of being able to learn from on a daily basis. So, I'm fairly good at not letting the haters or those that don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. What is the opposite of that? Not doing anything. So, where's that going to get us? nowhere. And look, sure, I have personal and professional goals. My personal goal is to hopefully do my job, do my part to reshape a world to be inclusive of people with disabilities, because it's who my son is and the population that he's involved in. So yeah, I am trying to have him grow up in a world that sees him as everybody else is seen. And from a professional perspective, this is white space. This is an amazing opportunity for brands to include people with disabilities and start rethinking the way products are created and developed, or services that include everyone and not just able-bodied people.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I fight back because to me, I think it's just really funny. So like sometimes I'll toss to them and be like, toss to me when you have like a picture of like yourself in your profile picture or something like, or I don't know. I did call them out because I think sometimes they're just like bullies and like if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
confront them, they're gonna keep bullying you and then they try to like bite back. I also like get empowered by it too, so like I keep going.
Yes.
But like
I do
yeah,
too.
that's
That's how I use it. That I use it to kind of fuel my fire to work harder, to be smarter and stronger, and do more things like this versus going. Sometimes you can't deal with crazy, and some people are just, that is what fuels their fire,
yeah.
that they want to spread hate or question or poke holes, whatever the case may be. But I don't have time for that. We've got too much work to do.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating for you because you have a business and like it would be bad PR if we like start cursing at a person. I don't know if you would curse at a person,
Yeah,
but
probably wouldn't be a good decision on
like
my
I'm
part.
sure you like wrote a message in the chat and like you didn't click send and you're like, I'm not gonna do that just because of
No,
everything I represent.
it will not go well for me. Correct.
Okay, so I feel like you have the power to change things. So I have something I noticed that when you go on the clothing website, there are no ways of knowing if they have accessible clothing. They will have categories like we got men, women, big and tall, and plus size, but there's no accessible option. It is buried. And that's something you can change to like, hey, disabled people are here to stay, and we got money to spend because we want to look good.
Yeah, so that really was the genesis and the root, especially when we started with Tommy Hilfiger in calling it Tommy Adaptive, because we really have to create a new category. No different
Mm-hmm.
than plus size, petite, men's, women's. It is a category called adaptive. And now I'm thrilled to say that everybody that is in the space is using that same vernacular, which will inevitably make it easier to find. It changes the stigma of what adaptive means, and what the thought behind it is because it's really adapting products to be able to have more people wear the product. That's really the genesis of what the root of using the term adaptive is. You're adapting it for more people to be able to wear the same product. Not saying that it's only for people with disabilities, but we can pretty much say if it works for somebody with a disability, you can wear it too. And that's, a really important distinction.
No, I mean it makes sense. Like the specific word means adaptive, so it's like clear to what, and anyone would read that in the English language. Like so, but then what is your opinion on like the word disabled? Because they're kind of it's hard to like gauge the disabled community of like how we are all feeling, and like I think one of the things is like we're some people are like, oh, disabled is not a bad word, and some say it. Like, what do you think of the word disabled? Like, do you think it's a good word, or do you think a bad word, or just a regular word?
It's a really good question because I have kind of two answers from me being Oliver's mom versus me being, having two companies in this space.
Mm-hmm.
From a personal perspective, look, do I wish there was another word that didn't start with dis, which already has a negative connotation to it. I mean, every morning when you listen to a traffic report, it's about a disabled vehicle on the side of the road that's causing traffic, causing aggravation. It doesn't definitely does not have positive connotation, but from a business perspective, I try to listen to the community, and there is a very strong current that people with disabilities feel it is what it is, and that is a descriptor of their abilities. So I listened, I learn, there's definitely different camps. There's people that feel disabled should come first. There's people that feel you should identify the person first as a person with a disability as opposed to a disabled person. So we kind of go with an ebb and flow right now. And I say that very specifically because it could change in a month. But right now, it seems to be the path of least resistance is identifying the person first and saying people with disabilities. So that's the language that we use with the caveat that if it swings, to a going back to saying disabled person, we'll pivot. But I think it's an ebb and flow.
Yeah, I guess it's really difficult with the whole language of like you're trying not to. Well, and I feel like you're in a special place where you represent a lot of people and you kind of set the standard of what the society should be, of like how we should call it, because like it's yeah, it's like I mean to me I feel like I'm a person first, and I think some people get too lost in their disability, like they make their disability too much of a focal point. I feel like sometimes you get lost in yourself,
Mm.
and I just try to think, oh, like I'm me for who I like, what I like love filming and stuff now because I'm like my wheelchair and stuff. And I think in your case it's difficult because you set the standard of how people should be called, and you also have influence of like how a company should call these people because
Hmm.
you know they have the footprint. So a regular person that sees a disabled person, they'll think, oh, that's a disabled person. But if you go, oh, a person with a disability, their language changes because they never interacted with before. So the like
Mm.
first impression of what they see is what they're gonna stick with. And once you're stuck with that, it's very, very hard to change that
Yeah.
mindset.
It's an important point, but again, we, especially with our corporate clients, we do always underscore that this is now. That doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be. I mean, look how far we've come from using the word handicap. Thankfully, I think we're at a place that it's generational, and more of the older generation is still using that word, but it's fairly hard to find somebody, or it's getting less and less, I should say, really utilizing that the word handicapped. And we are also seeing change in accessible parking or accessible bathrooms versus handicap, which that is something that we are fairly staunch on as a company, in sharing with our clients what the genesis of that word is and where it came from, and why we are really advocating to please no longer use it.
I didn't even know handicap was on their way out, honestly, till now. Like,
Yes, well, do you know the genesis of the word?
not really. Just,
So it was derived, centuries ago, but that people with disabilities were deemed only good to be beggars and have their cap in their hand to beg for money. And that then was utilized for how people with disabilities were viewed, and the word handicapped,
oh,
cap in hand, handicapped came to be.
wow, I had no idea. Now I feel like a bad disability person.
No, what do you mean? I learned that along the way too. I had no idea. This has,
Okay.
been taught to me, and this is part of my responsibility to pass that on. But, in my journey, I've definitely heard an overwhelming amount of people in the disability population do not want that word used anymore.
Well, I had no idea that was on its way out, but I guess thank you for educating me.
Pleasure.
Okay, I mean Okay, I'm learning a lot more than I thought I'd be. Okay. Something that bothers me and I feel like should be expressed is why is accessible clothing a totally different style of clothes in a fashion sense? Like some of it is like so ugly. Like I would love to browse and know there's an accessible option. Like I want to blend in what is hot for the season so I can fit in with the fashion like regular people. Like had there ever been talks of why it had to be two totally separate lines?
Well, I think we're moving away from it being two separate lines. So, for example, the Tommy Adaptive collection that we worked on, that we, is still very much present, is the same product that is sold not adaptive. It just has modifications to it. So you can find the same shirt, like this shirt behind me, for example, is sold with typical buttons and without. So this has magnetic closures. But it is the exact same shirt, same fabric, same style that is sold without the magnets. And brands are really, really moving towards that. So the Target adaptive products sold at JC Kohl's, they are products that have been modified that are on the typical line as well, versus it being completely different product line that is not stylish, not fashion forward, etc. And that's really has been the methodology that I and Gamut and Runway of Dreams have been advocating for, that it has to be just modifying what already exists versus creating a line that isn't fashionable or isn't what people are wearing. That's really where we came from, right? And even prior to us partnering with Tommy Hilfiger, there were zero mainstream brands in the adaptive space, none. The only product that was out there was extremely medicinal, not fashionable, not stylish, and certainly nothing I would ever put my son in. So I, really kind of leaned into that, as that was where I wanted to start.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're a great representative just because you have very good fashion taste.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know there are some that do not, and I would hate for them to be like the decider of what is being made and what's not. Because the
Well,
last thing
thank
you
you.
want
That's a very big compliment. Thank you.
to.
But that really came from being in the fashion industry, and I'm often asked why, do I think that it didn't happen before 2016? And I do really think that it it took that kind of cross section of somebody that cared so deeply about the fashion industry and saw through a personal reason why change needed to happen. I think it would be very hard to have one without the other. And I feel lucky that I have had both. And they, my paths crossed because one really needed to happen for the other to happen.
I mean, if you're ever looking for a designer, I know a guy named Kanye West. I maybe heard of him. He's
I
looking for a job right now. He's,
have. He's got stuff to work on before he can enter into the population.
I
He's got
mean,
some.
I know like how much bad stuff he had done and things he has said, but his shoes are really great, and I do own a couple of pair because they're really comfortable, and
Yeah.
they're actually really good accessibility wise too. Unfortunately, so I'm always conflicted because like, do I not get rid of the shoes because, but like I already gave him the money, so it's kind of like I'm not getting burnt. I'm not gonna burn. I'm not gonna be one of those people
No.
that burn them.
Agreed.
But like, I mean, but he's also a great visionary too, and I mean, he had him in the disability community and like started pioneering like with his like connections and
Would
his
have been awesome.
genius. It
Maybe,
would be.
he will work on himself to get
I
to a
mean, he
place
likes
of
Jewish
helping
people now,
others.
so you never know.
I mean, yes, that's what I read. That thanks to Jonah Hill.
There you go. But so like, my last question to you: is there a dream company you're hoping to call you?
Um, You know what? It's a really good question and one that I answer that I don't have a dream company because I want every company. That's my dream is every single company out there should have an adaptive version of their product. It is really no different than the category of plus size, and that is where I do really hope and know that that's where we are going to go, because I mean the reality is, and the trajectory that some statisticians are saying is that there could be a time that there will be more people with disabilities than not on our planet.
Oh
So
no. I mean,
what?
oh
No, I
yes, but
say,
like, oh
oh
no.
yeah,
I mean,
yes,
I don't want more people to suffer. That's where I'm trying to come from. But like, it's like, a, oh no, oh yes situation.
yes. But so why aren't we thinking about, being from a futuristic perspective about how we just make product easier or rethink the way that it's being done? I mean, just because a shirt has buttons on it doesn't mean it's the only way to close a shirt. And that is kind of what I posed, in the beginning to brands, is to we run our life through this thing. How in the
Hmm.
world are we still using buttons that were first developed in the 13th century? We have work to do. If that's how far we've come in the fashion industry, we have work to do.
I mean, also like this change from button to magnets is really like not hard at all.
Mm,
It's like it's pretty simple though. It's kind of like the same sewing thing, but like I feel like that could be easily done in most companies, and probably not even like their profits wouldn't even like change at all either. Like they don't even have to like make it accessible. You don't even have to say it's accessible. They could be like, oh, now we have magnets, and be like, and people are like, okay, cool, this is a lot
yeah.
easier. Like, I mean, and I feel like companies are thinking backwards, but I wonder if companies that are gearing for accessible needs people. I wonder if they're talking to each other of I'm sure there's like a special group of people that like talk about like the higher ups and like they talk to each other. I wonder if they like talk about like it is something that's actually gonna be a future thing or like we should even just for money reasons they'd be like, oh, it's like there's this huge demographic that we're not reaching, like we can make billions of dollars, like just do it already.
Yeah, I think those conversations are happening, and I am excited to say that I think on the Runway of Dreams side of the house that we are a platform that is helping to make that happen, because on our runways are competitive brands. I mean, we have
Mhm.
Target, we have Kohl's, we have J.C. Penney, Zappos. They're all competing against each other. And this is the one space that they're saying, you know what? We all need to be in this together. And that is a very, very big statement in the fashion industry, to be able to have such big brands kind of putting their competitive nature on the sidelines to be able to really work together to make change happen.
I mean, if Goosey calls you, like please call me next and I'll
Yeah,
be
no
right there.
problem.
So before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote any words of wisdom, the winning lottery numbers? The mic is all yours.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I enjoyed it. If your audience has any questions, please go to runwayofdreams.org or Gamut, management.com to find out more about what each of the companies do. But also, I just would love to leave with that an enormous population, the largest minority on our planet, and we need to work together to make change happen. So let's do it.
Hmm. Let's do it. Thank you, Mindy, so much for giving me your time and expertise and educating me a lot about the disabled community that I feel I should know, but I don't. But
Yeah.
thank you, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. I'll catch everyone next time. Bye.
Thank you.